All right. So today we're going to talk about agile coaching. Who's an agile coach? I know a few people have asked this question before, and sometimes it's used interchangeably, agile and scrum. Some say we're doing scrum, we're doing agile. I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, it's the same, but there is a difference, right? I usually use an analogy around, Toyota and Corolla or Mercedes-Benz and E-Class, right? At the end of the day, E-Class is a Mercedes, Corolla is a Toyota. You can get both a car, right? But if you know more, if you know, they say if you know, you will tell the difference. So agile, we all know it's like an umbrella, and we have various frameworks under that umbrella, right? Agile is a methodology, it's a mindset. So what does an agile coach do? Who's an agile coach? And an agile coach, basically, when an organization is trying to transition, right? We call it transformation in our lingo, transformation. They're transforming from the old way of doing things, which typically is the waterfall way, right? They want to move away from waterfall and move on to the agile mindset, the agile methodology, right? So they usually do a transformation, and that transformation would involve consultants, right? They'll need consultants, and those consultants must, of course, be agile coaches or agile practitioners. Enterprise agile coach, you might hear of those names sometimes in some job um, emails. So most of you get emails and say, oh, they're looking for agile coach. Some people want to apply, some people ignore it. I usually advise all the intending scrum masters, start with scrum master first before you try to go into agile coach, even though there's not much difference between what an agile coach does and the scrum master, right? So yes, agile coach, we they need us. I use us because all of us are agile coaches, right? We might start with scrum, but we end up being agile coaches, right? So when a company trying to transform, they don't know how to start, they typically will look for an agile coach. So an agile coach is responsible for creating and improving agile processes, right? So we start from the company level, right? From senior leadership, you're coaching them from the top, and then down to the team level. Agile now, there's a lot of buy-in with agile. Well, 5 years ago, it wasn't like this. Most agile transformation was from team level up to the top, or from mid level. The seniors weren't buying it. Senior leadership weren't buying it. They did not believe in it. They were like, we've been doing the same thing for 100 years and we're successful. Why should we go agile? Why should we go agile? But over time, when they started giving them case stories of successful companies who were agile, I think they started being more open. And even to this very day, there's still a lot of senior leadership in some Fortune 500 companies that's still very adamant towards this transformation, right? So that's when we need agile coaches to really give a talk, or come into the room, have one-on-ones, have conversations with these senior leadership to really kind of change their mindset, right? What does an agile coach do, right? We help individuals, right? Teams, entire organization embrace what we call that cultural shift, right? The shift from the waterfall way of doing things to an agile way of doing things. Okay, we always say agile is a mindset, right? And it takes someone who's an evangelist, right? Someone who's an aficionado of agile to be able to sell that change, right? Change is gradual, change is not overnight. And you have to continue to talk about those agile principles, right? The practices, those values, right? Those are the things that you have to live by, eat, breathe, and sleep those agile principles and values. And of course, the cultural shifts, right? Which once you come into a company, it's not going to grow. You can't force agile everywhere. It's going to start one team at a time. From team to team, it starts to spread, right? It starts to spread like wildfire. So when an agile coach comes in, you start to look for a set of people that are like-minded like you, who buy into what you're saying, and they will spread it, right? And when you start with a committee of practice. For example, one becoming agile being a committee of practice, and more people are joining because not just for the money, but again, we're trying to change lives, right? Then people understand that there's a better way of doing things, right? And after you create value or give value, money will come. But if you chase money first, you will not get anything. But if you pursue value, money will follow. So that cultural shift, helping organizations continue to thrive, right? Because we've seen companies fail. I usually explain companies like BlackBerry. BlackBerry used to be a very successful company, but they were very waterfall driven, right? And more agile companies like the likes of Google, who own Android, or Apple, who own the iPhones, who are more agile in their delivery and their approach, They came in and ate BlackBerry's lunch. And BlackBerry were very adamant. They didn't listen to their customers. They didn't listen to their employees. And even though they still exist today, they've really, really become a dead company. And even Nokia as well, too. Some very famous companies that we've known that we used to use their products before. Those companies are almost non-existent anymore. So what's the benefit, right, to an organization on having an agile coach, right? Because some organizations wonder when you see how much an agile coach charges, right? Because agile coaches are not cheap. They're like, are we paying this much? But there are many organizational, interpersonal, and operational benefits of having an agile coach, right? If a company is interested in really transforming and they're not playing it by lip service saying, because this other company went agile, we want to go agile. They're going agile because they've seen a need. So they have a problem and they know that they need a solution to that problem. That is the reason why every company should go agile. That's what I usually ask, or I usually tell you guys, that when any company in an interview who are very new to agile, you should always ask them, why do you guys go agile? You always want to start with why. Understand their reasoning behind it. Also, it spurs conversation. So you change your interview from an interview to a chat because they start telling you their problems, right? So you really want to understand, why did they go agile, right? Why did they make it a priority to do this restructuring? Because for a company to go agile, it's not easy, right? Especially large companies. There's some large companies till today, I can tell you the entire organization is not agile yet. They're going agile one line of business per line of business. And you will see some companies with huge workforce, right? Huge workforce. So they cannot completely go agile. So you want to understand, why do you want to go agile? What are the problems? Why do you believe agile will solve your problem? Because sometimes it might not solve your problem. What agile will do, it will expose those problems. It lets you see those bottlenecks, the things that are not making you move forward, the things that are making you lose your customer. It will expose it. Now, what you do with that information is left to you. Most people think agile will solve every problem. Agile will not solve a problem. Even agile organizations, they're also failing. But one thing agile will do is it will show you all the things that you're doing that are wasteful, the things that add no value. It starts to expose them. So the benefit, of course, is successful product delivery, despite the mounting challenges, products that are on time and are ahead of schedule, right? Because most companies are saying, we want to release something, and we keep having this change. We keep seeing these last minute changes. We keep seeing people, tell us that we have to bring in more money. We budgeted to spend 100 million. We ended up spending 650. Things like that, because we're waterfall in the process rather than thinking of an agile approach, right? So ensuring that we can deliver to our customer on time and budget is very key. When the streamlined system for implementing significant changes, right? Because again, change is gradual. You cannot change everything overnight. So you definitely need that incremental change. And that's why we go agile. And of course, company culture. There's no organization that's agile that you would not see a lovely culture within that organization. Not very hierarchical, right? Hierarchical companies, you will see that a lot of the employees are not free. They don't have that safe environment, that atmosphere to make mistakes, because anybody makes mistakes, you're scared of losing your job, compared to an agile organization where they promote innovation, right? They allow people fail, letting people know that failure is not a bad thing. We learn from failure, So that company culture, very, very key. And you need an agile coach for that kind of change. So what does an agile coach do, right? Of course, we teach, or they teach, implement, strategize, people what we call big picture, right? Looking things from a holistic standpoint, right? Big picture thinking. How do we attack this problem, right? Every company has vision, has big goals, right? We want to be number one. Everybody wants to be number one. But how do we become number one? Should we start one niche at a time, one vertical at a time? Or we want to go everything all in? We can't go everything all in, right? So that's why you need an agile coach that comes up with that big picture strategy with products, because an agile coach has to work with product management. And we look at, what is the current state? Where are we right now? Where do we want to be? And then when we start looking at where we want to be, we just don't want to say we want to be number one tomorrow. Okay, where do we want to be in the short term, the midterm, and the long term, right? So an agile coach will come and integrate these agile teams and departments, right? Understanding that the processes we had before, we have to make some changes, right? Waterfall-driven company, hierarchical kind of company, we have to decentralize decision making, right? All the decision cannot come from the top. Empower other people, empower mid-level managers, empower the teams to make their own decision. That's one thing about Agile. You have to decentralize decision making, empower the teams, give your product owner the true autonomy he or she needs. You see companies that they have product owners that just figure it. They don't really have a decision about that product. They're just hiring them to talk to the team. That's not the reason why you should go Agile, but just hiring a figurehead. No, you need a product owner that has autonomy, that can pull the plug. On the group today, someone was asking a question about product owner who signs off on deploying or going to production, right? A product owner is the one that should, but there's some companies that claim to be Agile today that the product owner doesn't sign off on going to production. It has to go through a long process. Too many people, too many leaders, too many leadership, too many vice presidents, that kind of organization is not Agile, right? It still has too many centralized decision making. You want to decentralize decision making. So of course you want to encourage the proliferation of Agile best practices between different teams, right? Because again, it starts from one team at a time, and it starts to grow, it starts to spread. As an Agile coach, of course, we mentor Scrum Masters. One thing I can tell you, not all Scrum Masters can become Agile coaches. Very key. Even though as Scrum Masters, we're all Agile leaders, right? We're all leaders in this Agile space. But not every Scrum Master can be an Agile coach. Not every Scrum Master will be able to coach. Not every Scrum Master will be able to interface with senior leadership, right? It takes much more than just coaching at the team level to be an Agile coach. But every Scrum Master can be an Agile coach. It just takes for you to become that Agile change agent, not the change agent that you are just hiding in your team or within your team. You are very comfortable within your team. To be an Agile coach, you have to get uncomfortable. I see a lot of people, Scrum Masters, hiding. This guy sitting within the teams, being very comfortable. I just like my team, no problem. I don't want to talk to anybody. No, that's you can never be an Agile coach that way. And that kind of bad Scrum Master, one day they'll find you out and fish you out and let you go. So of course, an Agile coach, one of the characteristics is you can overcome resistance, right? You will see a lot of senior leadership, right? I love being an Agile coach because in my lingo, we say we don't send anybody. Literally, I don't send anybody. I'm not looking in your eye, right? I don't care how many $1 million you got. You pay me to be the expert, right? You're paying me to tell you what to do. So I'm going to let you know that you cannot do things this way. If you want to be Agile, don't be Agile by mouth. Let's not do Agile. Let's be Agile. So, all the resistance from the top, we give them what we call a rebuttal, right? To give them that part. Let them know that, yes, giving it back to you. This is how we should do it. This is what Agile says. I always tell people your bragging rights is the Scrum guide and anything Agile related, right? You can always refer to it to say according to, those are things that you can do, So it let them understand that centralizing decision, they don't like it. They don't like to decentralize it because they feel like they're losing control. You know what I mean? But yes, you got to let them know that we have to decentralize decision. You have to empower people. Agile pushes for self-organized, self-managed teams. So project managers cannot thrive in an Agile world because they're so used to command and control, so used to asking people, give me updates, commanding budgets, firing and hiring, rather than coaching and helping people grow. Of course, an Agile coach measures the results of the transformation, right? So the company transforms or transitions to Agile. You want to do like surveys, you want to do maturity assessments, so many assessments to really see, okay, this company went Agile 6 months ago. Where were they before? Where are they now? What value are we delivering? What is the turnaround time? What's the customer's satisfaction? There's something they call Net Promoter Score. What's our Net Promoter Score now? A couple of things that Agile coach would use to measure that progress. And types of Agile coaches. Well, again, in job ads, you'll see some people say they're looking for a lead Agile coach, enterprise Agile coach, and things like that, right? Basically, just two major ones, at least in my own opinion. There's an enterprise Agile coach and just an Agile coach. In the end, it's all the same. And an enterprise Agile coach basically just teaches the leaders, right? You're just focused with the senior leadership, right? The big boys at the top. You're sitting with them, telling them what they don't know, letting them sign those checks, because any company that's going to go agile is going to spend money, right? Because most companies are not agile, you see them, one developer is supporting 10 teams, moving from team to team. Now, how does it sound when you're going to let them understand that with agile, especially when you do Scrum, you have to have dedicated team members, one person to one team. You're not removing him from that team. You're not borrowing him. We're not doing shared services. One product owner to one team, one Scrum Master to one team. And they start looking at the salaries. I'm going to pay this one 150. I'll pay that one 160. I'll pay this one this and that. By the time they do their math, they're like, wow, one team, our overhead on one team alone is like $1.5 million a year, and they want like 10 teams. So transformation to agile is costly. It's not cheap because they look at those salaries, right? But one thing that we say is people are not resources. So that's why we scrap the word human resources, right? People are not resources. So most companies are becoming, no, I won't just even say agile. Most progressive companies that you'll not see people call themselves HR anymore. So we call it people, right? You'll see vice president of people, because we see people as people. People are not resources. So you want to ensure that you are coaching the leaders and letting them understand the value of dedicated teams, because they have to sign up for those budgets, right? Again, like I said, transforming to agile is not cheap. So you have to educate them. Most companies have program management, right? Because they are very project management driven with projects. So we're trying to move them away from program management into what we call an agile center of excellence, right? Some people call it ACE or COE, agile COE, center of excellence. We're trying to move away from program management and all of that. So of course, you want to ensure that the strategy, how do we fund projects or fund products? Because we're trying to move away from projects to products as well, right? And what's the output? Of course, an enterprise agile coach will help the business leaders adopt the agile mindset. Right? You're not going to let go of them, because most times when they're doing their annual budgeting and things like that, you need an agile coach in those meetings. Otherwise, they start to look at people like resources again, and they'll miss on the point of why we're going agile. So that's why you need an enterprise agile coach to continue to coach, mentor these leaders in adopting the agile mindset. So an agile coach, again, anybody can be an agile coach. Just the reason why I'm breaking this down, so you guys can see, if you see it outside, what the difference is. There's not much difference. An agile coach in its own still will support leadership, right? They're supporting an organization in building products, right? And all product management, helping them with that big picture, right? What is our product roadmap? How do we deliver on this product roadmap? How can we plan in sprints? How do we move away from hours to story pointing and velocity planning and story mapping and product discovery? All of these agile terms that they don't use in a waterfall place, right? This is where the agile coach comes in to really coach product management, on the product level. And the product management don't mean they're not senior leadership. People in product management are also senior leadership as well. So when you're coaching more on the product management side, letting them understand, okay, why you need a product owner, a dedicated product owner, why we need DevOps, why we need dedicated Scrum Masters. You don't want one Scrum Master supporting 3 teams. It's just not right. Of course, what's the output of that? An agile coach will help the organization adopt the agile mindset, right? Because an enterprise person is focused on the business leaders alone, but the agile coach is talking with other teams, right? Not just Scrum teams, but talking to people from product management, getting the organization to adopt the agile mindset, right? How do we plan our work in sprints? How do we break down these so-called roadmaps that they feel like will take forever, take 10 years to build, right? How do we start small? How do we coach them or change their mindset of everything cannot be important, right? If everything is important, nothing is important. Yeah, so that's why you need another coach to coach on that level. So people ask again the difference between a Scrum Master and an Agile Coach. A Scrum Master, I wasn't saying we're really teaching Scrum theory and practices, but yes, ideally, a Scrum Master, you're the master of Scrum. So you should be able to teach Scrum, understand the Scrum values, the pillars of Scrum, understand the Scrum ceremonies, understand the Scrum roles, the artifacts, things of that nature, right? You should be able to teach that. You're guiding teams to improve the agile knowledge, right? Make sure that you're just not the Scrum Master. If you're not available, other people can run the ceremonies, right? So they should improve the agile knowledge, understanding why we do those ceremonies. As a Scrum Master, you're leading positive and productive meetings, right? Time boxing, letting them understand the value of time boxing your meetings, letting them understand why every meeting should have an agenda, letting people understand that why we stick to the agenda, letting people understand that every meeting should have an action item at the end of that meeting. What are the next steps? That's how you make meetings more productive and you don't waste people's time. Because one of the pitfalls of Agile is people get dragged into a lot of meaningless meetings, right? Meetings that could have been an email. They drag someone into a meeting. So as a Scrum Master, your duty is to protect your team. Let your team members know that if they're dragged into any other meeting that's not productive, they should let you know. So you can push back on that invitee who invited them, right? Why are you inviting my team members to this meeting? Do they need to be there? Do they absolutely need to be there? So you're leading that positive, productive meetings. And your Agile ceremonies, again, making sure they're very time boxed, not going above the time box, making sure that everybody understands why they are on that meeting, why we're here, and making sure that there's a productive outcome, action item. Of course, as a Scrum Master, you're facilitating effective communication among the team members, making sure you're not being a middle person, right? Because at some companies, you see Scrum Masters behave in a way, they take information from the product owner and relay it to the team. No, product owner is part of that team. A product owner is not external to the team. So you don't have to be a middleman between the developers and the product owner. No, the product owner has something to convey to the team, schedule a meeting, encourage that product owner, bring it up during refinement, bring it up during daily stand-up, right? Oh, hey team, Peter has blah, 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 blah to talk about. Oh, Gloria, the team have a question for you. You're facilitating that conversation, that communication. You're not being a middleman conveying information from point A to point B. No, but they're part of that team. Make sure that conversation is happening and you're facilitating those conversations. You're assisting your team with Scrum ceremonies, right? Making them understand, again, all the ceremonies, facilitating effective retrospectives, making sure that retrospective is fun and not boring. And the backlog, the product backlog, what is a healthy product backlog? A product backlog that is constantly being refined and reprioritized, right? And also from time to time, items from the product backlog can be purged or archived or deleted, right? Because sometimes you see a product backlog, just stories of 5 years ago. We're never going to work on it. It's a forgotten project. Why do we still have it? So from time to time, you want to encourage your product owner to take a deep dive into the product backlog and look at the stories or the product backlog items that have been there for a minute and encourage the person to delete or purge or archive those user stories. Of course, I'm monitoring and improving the team's outcomes for retrospectives, for instance. Every action item from retrospective, as a Scrum Master, it's your duty to take notes, right? Follow up. Who's responsible for those action items, right? If somebody is going to own an action item, follow up on that individual, right? You said you're going to do this. Okay, so where are we on this, right? Bring it up in the team meetings. Some people create what we call product improvement item user story. And they bring it to the sprint and it's on the board so that when we are doing our daily stand-ups and we're sharing your screen or we're looking at walking the board, we see those action items as maybe a task or, not the user story that you have to estimate, but at least on the board, asking team question that, okay, we said we wanted to start doing automation instead of manual testing. Okay, who's owning this? Okay, what are the things we need to do to move to automation and things like that? So you want to ensure that you're helping the team improve the outcome, right? Whatever they want to do, make sure that you're asking those intelligent questions. And of course, you're enabling the team to produce high value increments, right? How do we produce high value increments? Quality, ensuring that every user story needs to be broken down, has to have clear acceptance criteria, ensuring that the product owner is knowledgeable enough. And if the product owner is not knowledgeable, you can drag or grab subject matter experts to come and talk to the team, right? Making sure that the team is not overcommitting or undercommitting, right? Overcommitment meaning they are doing much more than they can do. They're biting off more than they can chew. And undercommitting meaning they can do this much, but they're just bringing in a little stories to the sprint, meaning they're trying to be too careful, right? You don't want to be too careful. If I used to use this analogy, if you're giving a credit line of $20,000, don't be scared to spend $1,000 now, So don't undercommit, right? So as a Scrum Master, your duty is to ensure that the team's not over-committing, they're not under-committing. And that way, they're able to meet their commitments. So yeah, those are responsibilities of a Scrum Master. And then looking at the Agile Coach. An Agile Coach is communicating the Agile methodology and instilling the best practices, right? Constantly in a company, if you're lucky as a Scrum Master, you have an Agile Coach. You can run to the Agile Coach for any questions, concern, right? Before I used to say, tell people, before you run to becoming Agile on the job, go ask your Agile Coach in the company, right? Those are people that can answer your questions the best, because every company is different. And every response I give will be very subjective, right? Unless I have vast experience. I've worked in a couple of industries, but still I don't know it all. Still a lot I don't know. So I'm like, in that company, your ally is there. Someone that can help you is there. So before you run to me or run to becoming Agile, if your company has an Agile coach, run to that person. Those are the people that are going to help you, right? So they train teams to navigate the Agile tools, the tools that need to be used. You can join a company now that uses Rally or something different. We don't use Rally. I've never used Rally. And there's no free version of Rally, right? So becoming Agile is not going to help you. So you got to go meet the Agile coach in that company. Come and show me Rally, right? Come and show me how to use this. I only have experience with Jira. I only have experience with Azure DevOps. So I've not used Rally before. There's nothing wrong with that, So you want to run to your Agile coach for things like that, asking them to navigate those tools, show you those tools, and all of that. An Agile coach monitors organization progress, working to overcome any barriers. So again, as a Scrum Master, any impediments that you cannot remove for your team, right? You run to the Agile coach. Hey, I've tried to do this and that to no avail. Can you help me out? That's where an Agile coach will carry it for you, carry that burden from there for you. So their duty is to remove those barriers from a very organizational level, from high level, right? Things that your team cannot remove. You reach out to the Agile coach. That the team have tried this. We're trying to reach out to a vice president for something, and we cannot reach out. Can you help us? And that person will do that. An Agile coach encourages the senior leadership and stakeholders buying, letting them really invest in Agile, because investing in Agile is not cheap, like I said earlier. Even after having dedicated teams, investing in those tools, investing in those softwares, sometimes you have to do an organization assessment. You got to pay some money. An Agile coach is going to continue to encourage the company to continue to invest in the company's Agile transformation. Of course, Agile coach will develop and maintain standards. What are the standards across the company? Although at the end of the day, you want to empower teams to make their own decision, but there should be at least some level of standardization, right? This is the barest minimum the company should do. For instance, saying one Scrum Master to one team, one product owner to one team, one QA to one team, one developer to one team. Some companies are doing Agile, and you see that one QA is supporting 2 teams. One DevOps is supporting 10 teams. That's not a good standard, right? So as an Agile coach, your duty is to ensure that the organization is not sharing people, right? What we call shared resources, right? Even though people are not resources, they still call it shared resources. But they're sharing talent, right? One person supporting multiple teams. You really cannot get that team's velocity because that person is not there on that team 100%. And we do not calculate partial velocity, though. Because either they're in or they're out. You can't do one leg in, one leg out, right? So they're advising company leaders as they adjust to the Agile mindset. So again, like I said, Agile is a journey, not a destination. So even as a coach, you have to also constantly be keeping up with what's going on in the industry, continuous learning, continuous improvement, continuous knowledge. You cannot stop learning, right? The world is changing, things change, perspectives change, debates here and there, so many debatable conversations about the Agile industry. So if you want to continue to be useful, you want to continue to learn. And in that way, you're going to continue to coach leaders as they continue to adjust in the Agile mindset. And of course, again, you're coaching and mentoring Scrum Masters, right? Setting up communities of practice within the organization. In most companies, not every company wants to invest and hire a Scrum Master external, right? You want to grow some people from within the company. You want to grow a project coordinator to become a Scrum Master. You want to grow an admin person. In the company I used to work with, the executive assistant to the vice president, she left and she didn't leave. It's like she wanted to improve and she stopped being his EA and she became a Scrum Master, right? So you want that kind of encouragement, what we call OJT, on the job training. You want to support members in that organization who don't have any opportunity to become a Scrum Master, how do they grow from that current role? They want to transition out of what they're doing. Some people are working in a different division of the company, and they've heard of Scrum. Well, nobody wants to give them a chance because they don't have experience. So how do you encourage that as an Agile coach? You have to come in and let people understand that within the company they can shadow. Let them shadow a team. Let them shadow a Scrum Master. That's how they learn and become good Agile leaders or Scrum Masters and whatnot. And what are the steps of becoming an Agile coach? Again, most people think getting a certificate makes you a coach. Even getting a certificate doesn't make you a Scrum Master. A lot of people call me and say, "Oh, they want to join. I don't know what they say." I'm trying to encourage everyone today who refers people. Please don't refer people and giving me a lot of work to explain what this is all about. Like, try and please give them an overview, right? Just don't give them my phone number, because it's like you're giving them my number and saying, "Hey, this person can help you make money. Or, this is a 6-figure job. Take this number." No, you're not helping. You're not helping spread the ministry the right way, right? You're supposed to explain to them, let them understand what they're signing up for, right? So that there are no surprises. Most people are calling me and saying, "Hey, I heard you do certification." I don't do certification. I mentor people. This is a mentorship program. This is not a certification. I know a lot of people who have taken certifications cannot get a job, cannot even attend an interview session, right? So it's not about certification, right? Completing an Agile coaching certification does not make you an Agile coach, right? It's much more than certification, right? To be an Agile coach, you have to understand what the Agile methodology is about and the frameworks, every framework under the Agile umbrella, right? You have to have deep understanding of it. Theoretical, yes. Even if you can read up on it, theoretical. Of course, you have to have some real world experience. So you cannot some people are jumping from not knowing anything, and you want to come in and want to go straight to Agile coach. It's doable. I know a couple of people have done it. I did it, but I failed woefully, right? Because when I got my foot in the door, I was confused. I was having palpitations because I'm like, why did I ever put myself in this place? Like, I haven't done basic Scrum. I went straight to Agile coaching. My very first opportunity to be an Agile leader, I went straight to Agile coaching. So you don't want to do that, right? You want to really start from Scrum level, right? Even if it's 1 month, 2 months on the job, you don't have to wait 10 years before you become an Agile coach. You can be an Agile coach in 6 months, 3 months. It's, again, mindset, right? Mindset, perspective. For you to be an Agile coach, you have to be a real servant leader, not someone that just wants to chase money, right? Are you willing to coach people and really care, showing empathy, right? They say what's servant leadership? Someone that knows that their growth comes from helping other people grow, right? So it's all about the money. You can't be an Agile coach. You can't be a servant leader, right? Servant leader is a leader who serves. So you can't be an Agile coach if you're not going to display true servant leadership. It's really showing people, be there for people, inconveniencing yourself to ensure that people are convenient and happy. It takes much more than just being certified to be an Agile coach. So yeah, servant leadership. If you're too big to serve, you're too small to lead. Master individual and team changes. You want to know people from a personal level, but individual level. People are different. So you have to understand how to work with difficult people with strong personalities, emotional people, right? Teams, right? Being able to read the room. For you to be an Agile coach, you have to be able to read the room. You have to master that, how to see organizations from a top-down approach. How do you see organizations change, adopt Agile mindset, right? You have to master that art. And of course, you have to know how to coach people, right? That's why I said it's continuous learning, right? You have to test for knowledge. You see emails, register for webinar. Like, I register for webinars all the time. Even what I know, I would attend a Scrum 101 class if I see it, despite what I think I know, because I know I don't know anything. But I will still go and look for knowledge. I want to hear about that person's perspective, right? Let me hear from someone else. I don't think I know it all. I don't think I'm too big for anyone cannot teach me. So you want to, continue to build your coaching skills, your mentoring skills. It's not just all about Agile. public speaking, so many things that will help you grow. You want to look for opportunities wherever you find them to learn. Most of us are working in organizations now. Companies have a lot of free training. Go find out. They will send you for training for free. I've gotten almost $20,000 paid of training on organizations' time. They paid for it, right? Because they have that. Sometimes they'll tell you to go and take it outside and they'll reimburse you or things like that. So some of us that are taking all these certifications that are within companies, find out whether they will reimburse you, And it's also a tax write-off if you're writing off your taxes too. So learning agile tracking tools, you have to understand those tools. You have to understand what Jira is about. Agile DevOps, some of these free tools, play around with it, create a dummy sprint, create dummy user stories, start a sprint, put story points on it, try and burn down the stories, try and look at what a burn down graph looks like. Try and create like a fake team, feel like it's a team, create user stories, create a product backlog, create a sprint. From day to day, move from to do to in progress. Create a task, add hours to those tasks. Understand how those tools work. Watch YouTube. YouTube is a powerful tool. So many things that you're looking for. Once you Google it, the way you think in your head, you put it on YouTube, you will find the answer, So you got to learn these tracking tools, learning how to communicate, right? Communicating is very important. And for you to communicate, it said you have to be a good listener first, right? Don't be ready to talk. Listen, what we call active listening. You don't want to just speak because you want to talk. No, listen first. Listen 3 times before you say one thing. So communication skills. There's so many courses on how to communicate, effective communication. Learn it, right? At the end of the day, you cannot read everything all. You have to also do it. Facilitation, right? At the end, an agile leader, from Scrum Master, Agile Coach. Again, like I said, a Scrum Master can become an Agile Coach. A Scrum Master is an Agile Coach already. We're already coaching our teams, right? But facilitation is key. How do you facilitate conversations? How do you bring people to the room and get them talking? How do you introduce people? How do you start your meetings? How do you quickly come in your meeting when someone is going off topic? How do you bring people back to the center of the conversation? You have to be a good facilitator. You have to learn and master the art of facilitation. So these are some of the skills that you need to be a good coach, agile coach. You can read most of these things, but at the end of the day, your opportunity to really show these skills is if you get a job, start with a Scrum Master job. You can quickly move. Once you get 1 or 2 months, 3 months experience, of course, you can go into agile coaching. And other skills and traits of an agile coach. You must have that in-depth knowledge of Agile, Scrum, and Kanban. So some people don't want to learn the other frameworks. For everyone on this platform, go and watch the videos. Go and watch what Kanban is about: extreme programming, behavior-driven development, test-driven development. Just at least have an overview of what it is, right? They're not commonly used, but for you to be an Agile coach, you have to have this information, because one day someone randomly come and ask you, if you get a job as an Agile coach, and they're asking you what is BDD or what's TDD or what's Kanban, you cannot say it because all you know is Scrum, right? You cannot just know Scrum. You got to understand other frameworks on the Agile. You have to understand SAFe. Don't stop at SAFe Scrum Master. There's SAFe Advanced Scrum Master. There's RTE. There's SAFe Product Owner, Product Manager. You have to test for that knowledge. That's how you become better. That's how you become sellable. Test for that knowledge. In-depth knowledge of all of these other frameworks is key. Of course, you want the real world experience. So that's why I said you don't want to start as coming from another background, because all of us are doing it, right? All of us did not know anything. We got our foot in the door. We got our Scrum job. All of us are speaking Scrum like we've done it for the last 20 years. Meanwhile, some of us are doing it since yesterday. But because it's not that difficult to understand, it's not that difficult to transition into it. But what is difficult is sustaining it, right? You want to become a thought leader. You want to become someone that you're saying it conveniently. You're not feeling like an imposter. The only way not to feel like an imposter is you want to learn. You want to continue to interact with people that do this thing every day. Don't stop listening to those podcasts. Because you've got a job doesn't mean you should stop listening to those podcasts, right? Those podcasts talk about the real world experience, right? You might not have the full real world experience yet, but when you start listening to those podcasts, you're hearing other people on the job talk about it. You start putting yourself in their shoes. You start feeling like it's you, right? So to be an Agile coach, of course, you must have real world experience with Agile and Scrum. You must understand SDLC, software development lifecycle, very, very key. How do we get here? Because at the end of the day, Scrum Master or Agile Coach is not a technical role, but you're going to work with technical people. So you're going to understand how software is being built, the life cycles. You must have a positive attitude, very, very key. Humble, right? Showing empathy, very key. You must have great communication and interpersonal skills. You must know how to resolve conflicts, right? Conflict management is key. How do you get two parties who don't agree? How do you get them talking, right? How do you coach them into getting to a consensus, right? So you must have that conflict resolution skills. You must again have strong listening skills. Like I said, you must listen and listen and listen again. Listen 3 times before you speak once. You must be open-minded. Being honest and open-minded is very key. You must have an easygoing nature. Keep an eye for detail, very, very important. You're looking at that detail. I mean, you're not a perfectionist, right? No, but you still have the eye for detail, paying attention to detail. And of course, ability to perform self-assessment. You want to assess yourself, right? And, you're getting people in the organization to also assess themselves. You're not assessing them, letting them assess themselves, right? How do they feel? What's the team health? How's the team feeling, right? So those powers of self-assessment is also a good trait and skill for Agile Coach to have. Certifications, right? Even though I would say certification doesn't really matter to be an Agile Coach, but if you, of course, you're interested, you want to be certified, because no knowledge is lost ever, right? But don't go out there spending ridiculous amount of money trying to certify, because everything they'll teach you in that certification, it depends on the trainer too. The trainers are very important. I said a lot of people don't know how to really train like that, and they just dish whatever it's in the content directly to you, not giving you real world examples and breaking it down. But most of the content is something you can always find online. But some people just want to, they're bragging rights. I understand. Having all of these certifications, all these accolades to your name is it's a nice to have. In fact, it's a must-have for some people. But yeah, one of the great certifications to have is an SPC, Safe Program Consultant. It helps you implement SAFE in an organization. It helps you teach SAFE. Now, for you to teach SPC, you have to be an SPCT, right? I don't have that yet, and I don't think I'm ever going to get that, because I'm not trying to teach anybody to be an SPC. But yes, to teach SAFE SPCs, which was what I am, I need to be an SPCT. So if you want to get an SPC or SPCT, and to get an SPCT, the requirement is ridiculous too. I think there are only 400 SPCTs in the world right now. So not that many people, and there are about 4,000 SPCs. PMI Agile Certified Practitioner, PMI ACP, also more project management, but PMI are the ones that give out PMP, project management professional. So they saw that they're really losing. Everybody's moving away from project management to Agile. They kind of like created their own Agile course, and it was so rigorous, right? Before now, you have to go into a testing center to take the exam. I think now they allow you to take it on the computer now. But before now, it used to be like you have to walk into a testing center, very difficult. So I think it was highly respected. But yeah, something you can always give a shot. I see Agile, very controversial. Some people say it's good, some people say it's not good. But this is the only Agile Coach certification that most people talk about. You can always take it if you want. I don't recommend it at all. But yes, that's the Agile Coaching certification body. And anything I see Agile, you can throw your money out there if you want to do it. And then, of course, after you become SSM, if you want to stick to being a great Scrum Master, there's another course called the Safe Advanced Scrum Master. And of course, makes you get closer to being an Agile Coach. But all in all, like I said, you don't need a certification to be an Agile Coach. You be an Agile Coach by experience, by mindset, by believing in yourself. And that's how you become an Agile Coach. All right. Thank you so much. I think we'll leave the room open for questions.